You check your phone, no new messages. You check it again 10 minutes later. Nothing has changed, but something in your chest tightens anyway. You tell yourself it's nothing, but your body disagrees. And your body has been keeping score for a lot longer than you have. Loneliness feels like an emotion, a mood, something soft and personal, unique to you. But the real answer is far stranger. Loneliness isn't a feeling your mind invented. It's an alarm your body installed, and it was built for a world that no longer exists. Go back 200,000 years. Your ancestors did not live alone. They could not survive alone. A human on their own, out on the open savanna, was slow, clawless, and easy to kill. No sharp teeth, no thick hide, just soft skin and a big hungry brain. The only real defense your species ever had was each other. So evolution did something clever. It didn't just make groups useful, it made isolation painful. Physically, chemically, psychologically painful. Being cut off from the group had to hurt, or nobody would bother going back. Pain is what keeps a hand away from fire. And pain is what evolution used to keep a person tethered to the tribe. This is where the science gets interesting. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness at the University of Chicago, and what he found reshaped how researchers understand the feeling entirely. Cacioppo discovered that loneliness activates the same neural circuitry as physical pain, not something similar to pain. The actual pain network. When you feel lonely, your brain is not producing a metaphor. It is running the same alarm system it would run if your arm were broken. Think about that for a second. Your brain does not distinguish between social injury and physical injury. Both trip the same wire. Why would a brain do that? Because for most of human history, disconnection was not an inconvenience. It was a death sentence. If you were the one member of the tribe who wandered off, who got left behind, who nobody watched out for, your odds of seeing another season dropped sharply. There were no lone hunters thriving on their own for generations. There were only people who stayed close, and people who did not survive long enough to pass on their genes. So the humans who are here today, the ones reading this right now, descend from a very specific group. Not the strongest humans, not even the smartest, the ones who felt loneliness the most sharply, and who did something about it. That is the twist. Loneliness was never a flaw in the system. It was the system working exactly as designed. A survival mechanism, not a mood disorder. An alarm, not a weakness. But here is where it gets stranger. Alarms are built for specific dangers. A smoke detector is built to sense smoke. It has no idea whether that smoke is coming from a house fire or a piece of burnt toast. It just reacts. Loneliness works the same way. It is not built to measure how many people are physically near you. It is built to measure something else entirely, whether you feel seen, known, and valued by the people around you. Psychologist Susan Pinker, in her research on longevity and social connection, found that people can be surrounded by others and still register as lonely at a biological level. A crowded office, a busy family home, a group chat with 40 people in it. None of that satisfies the alarm if the connection underneath it feels thin. Meanwhile, someone with only 2 or 3 deeply trusted people in their life can feel completely secure. The alarm isn't counting heads, it's measuring depth. This explains something that should feel familiar. You can scroll through hundreds of comments, hearts, and notifications and still feel strangely hollow afterward. That hollowness isn't random. It's your ancient alarm system trying to tell you something your modern environment was never designed to hear. For nearly all of human history, the people around you were the people who mattered. If you saw someone's face, you likely also shared food with them, defended them, raised children near them, buried their dead alongside them. Presence meant investment. Now, presence can mean almost nothing. You can watch a stranger's entire life unfold on a screen and know their vacation, their breakfast, their opinions on politics, without that person knowing you exist. Your ancient alarm system was never built to process that kind of one-sided closeness. It just registers input, and increasingly, that input doesn't match anything your ancestors would recognize as real connection. There's a further complication. Psychiatrist Vivek Murthy in his work studying social disconnection as a public health issue, described loneliness as functioning like chronic low-grade inflammation, not a sudden crisis, a slow wear. Chronic loneliness has been linked to elevated stress hormones, weakened immune response, and increased cardiovascular risk. In other words, the alarm doesn't just make you feel bad. Left ringing long enough, it starts to cause real, measurable damage. Your body treats prolonged isolation the way it treats a prolonged threat, because for nearly your entire evolutionary history, that's exactly what it was. So why doesn't the alarm work properly anymore? Because your environment changed far faster than your biology could keep up. 200,000 years of evolution built a detection system calibrated for small tribes, constant eye contact, shared meals, and physical closeness. Then, in the span of a few decades, humans built an entirely new environment. Cities where you can live beside strangers for years without learning their names. Screens that simulate closeness without delivering it. Jobs that scatter families across continents. The alarm still works exactly as it was designed to. It's the world around it that stopped making sense to it. Here's the counterintuitive part. Loneliness isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that the system is functioning correctly in an environment it was never built for. A smoke detector going off in a kitchen full of steam isn't broken. It's just responding to the wrong kind of signal in the wrong kind of room. Once you understand loneliness this way, it stops being something to feel ashamed of. It becomes information, a signal, not a verdict on your worth. The ache isn't proof that you're unlovable or failing at life. It's proof that you're a human being whose body still remembers a world where being alone could get you killed. And there's something almost hopeful buried in that. If loneliness is a survival alarm and not a personal defect, then it responds to the same thing it always responded to: real connection, not more notifications, not a bigger follower count. The specific, old-fashioned kind of closeness your ancestors relied on. Being known, being checked on, mattering to a small number of people who would notice if you disappeared. Cacioppo's later research found something striking here too. It wasn't the quantity of social contact that reduced the biological markers of loneliness. It was the quality. A single relationship where someone felt truly understood did more to calm the alarm than a dozen surface-level interactions ever could. So the next time that tightness rises in your chest after an unanswered message, or that flicker of unease in a room full of people who don't quite know you, try not to read it as a flaw. Read it as an inheritance. A message passed down from every ancestor who survived by staying close to others, encoded into you before you were even born. You check your phone, no new messages, and this time you understand exactly why that small ache exists. It isn't weakness. It's 200,000 years of survival, still quietly doing its job.